marks 300 days since the disappearance of a New Sweden teenager. 14-year-old Stephanie Dameron was last seen by family members on September 23rd. Since then, despite extensive searches by volunteers and law enforcement, there has been no sign of Dameron. Maine State Police and the FBI have offered a $15,000 reward for her return. In efforts to locate Dameron, community members have come together to create Friends of Stephanie. On their website, teamstephanie.org, you can learn more about Dameron's background, how to get involved in coordinated search efforts, and submit a tip to the FBI if you have any information regarding Dameron's whereabouts.